It is undeniably clear that there are agendas against certain players at Man United. It has not been uncommon to see certain groups of players who are doing average in a game getting absolutely slated for no reason, and other players who are putting poor performances consistently not getting criticised by anyone in the fan base or the media. And I think what segregates these two sides is simply the nationality of this player. We've seen the criticism of Ronaldo saying that he was a problem at Man United when he was one of only two or three players consistently performing in that season when he first joined. We've seen David De Gea getting criticised and asked to leave the club when he has been exceptional for us for 10 years. You've seen the criticism of players like Anthony Martial, Paul Pogba, who are all talented players and need encouragement instead of being constantly put down. Yet there are other players who barely ever put in good performances and never get criticised. Just this season, our worst player this season by far has been Mason Mount. He's been injured for so many months, and whenever he isn't injured, he never plays well. We spent £50 million on this guy, and we sold a £20 million Fred. Mason Mount has not featured at all this season, and every time he has, he's done nothing. Last season, we had a midfield of either Casemiro and Fred or Casemiro and Eriksen. If we wanted more possession in our game, we could use Eriksen in the team and dictate the game. But if we wanted to defend better and counter press, we could use Fred. This season, we can't do that. We have no counter pressing option next to Casemiro. Selling Fred, who I wasn't really a big fan of, I'm gonna be honest, but selling him for Mason Mount was a joke. We had to spend the £30 million extra on Mason Mount, who has done absolutely nothing for us. Not one person in the media has mentioned Mason Mount's name. Yet they'll always talk about Martial being injured, Martial being moody, Anthony being not good enough. When people try to criticise Marcus Rashford, they will always have a dig at Martial. Look at that at the beginning of the season. Rashford played 80 minutes against Tottenham and had an absolutely horrendous performance. Martial came on for 2 minutes and Gary Neville was already criticising him. Jamie Carragher after the game was saying, Marcus Rashford doesn't look interested. He's almost as bad as Martial. There was no reason for Jamie Carragher to go and criticise Martial. Scott McTominay, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the manager, was consistently getting picked for games when he was putting in poor performances every week, and barely anyone in the media was criticising him. A lot of people criticised Harry Maguire, but the only person in the media who actually criticised him was Roy Keane. Everyone else who criticised him was just a simple, normal fan on Instagram or Twitter. But when Harry Maguire comes out and says he's received too much hate and he's getting abused, everyone in the media is now giving him man of the match awards for no reason. And there are some people out there who are saying that he deserves to start at centre back over Rafael Varane, who is a 4 times Champions League winner and a World Cup medalist, and is by far our best centre back. A couple of years back, you had people in the media saying that Dean Henderson deserved to start over David De Gea. Dean Henderson, who is now a backup goalkeeper at Crystal Palace, deserved to be the Man United number one. Really? Like, if you compare that situation to Arsenal with Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya, the same exact thing is going on. They are saying that the English player, the English goalkeeper, deserves to start. And I wonder why. It's because the British media wants to see English players doing well at their clubs so they get scouted into their national teams. So they can start playing well for the national team. We see players like Harry Maguire getting constantly picked every game despite not performing well. Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood and Jadon Sancho putting in poor performances and never getting criticised. Last season, people were criticising Anthony. Even though it was his first season, he didn't adapt to the Premier League yet. He was adapting to a terrible Man United team who had just come off their worst ever season and still managed to score 10 goals and get 5 assists. Yet people still criticised him just because he did one little spin, and no one mentioned Jadon Sancho. People only refer to him a little bit in the media. Like, oh, don't forget about Jadon Sancho, guys. But no one was criticising Jadon Sancho as much as they were criticising Anthony. Despite Jadon Sancho being there for a whole year beforehand and already being someone who's well accustomed to English lifestyle. And what this has led to is Man United selling the wrong players every season and wondering, why are we not improving? Every player who's been deemed a problem at Man United, from Ronaldo, De Gea, Pogba, Mata, Matic, Cavani, all of these guys are getting kicked out of the club. Yet we have not improved. Players like Rashford, Shaw, Maguire somehow remain at the club, and we're signing in players like Mason Mount who do absolutely nothing, and we're still wondering who is the problem? We've had a problem for 6, 7 years. So why don't you look at the people who have been playing most of the games for 6, 7 years? And I guarantee you, this summer, people are going to start calling Rafael Varane the problem, Casemiro the problem, Anthony the problem. And if we sell these players, go on, sell them. But I can guarantee next season will be worse off. Man United is a club that is run by the media. And the media will never tell Man United to sell Rashford, to sell players who are actually the problem at this club. And for the next few years, we're going to see Man United consistently selling the players who actually have played well for the club and actually have ability and actually know how to perform on the pitch. Because people think that being a manager of Man United is like playing FIFA. Just sign all the young players, the inexperienced players, and you'll somehow win the league. So let's see if this new ownership is actually going to improve Man United, or if we're going to see the same rubbish that we've seen for the last 5 years, selling the only players who actually perform consistently on the pitch. Let's see who we sell this summer. If we sell Casemiro, if we sell Varane, and we keep the players who have been here for 6, 7 years, who have actually played so many games this year and have still been subpar, we will see no improvement at this club. And I guarantee you we won't be winning the league anytime soon.